Signing a contract to buy a house is the first step in the biggest purchase most of us will ever make. It often triggers a hectic series of legal events that assures the buyer that he or she got what they paid for. Jim Turner is a licensed certified home inspector based in the Los Angeles area. Soon after buyers sign the initial contract, they have the right to hire an inspector to make sure that the answers on the seller's disclosure form are true and the majority of elements in the house are in working order. During the contract period, the seller must answer all the questions on the disclosure form honestly and to the best of their knowledge. Notify the buyer about any important changes that happen during the contract period. Answer truthfully any questions posed by the buyer, even if the question isn't on the disclosure form.
You want a discharge line that's going to take it into a safe location. Now, we're in the basement. Nobody really comes down here. So discharging down here is generally accepted. But we look down here.
If the buyer doesn't like the results of the home inspection, he or she has two options.
In some cases, the seller will try to fix the problem. But most of the time what happens is there's a negotiation between the seller and the buyer as to how much to reduce the purchase price in order to satisfy the buyer given the condition. If they can't come to an agreement and the buyer has an inspection contingency, the buyer can terminate the contract.
Chuck Meyer is a real estate attorney, a crucial member of any home buyer's team. Meyer, from Los Angeles, estimates that he has counseled hundreds of buyers from contract to closing. He points to another major legal protection for the buyer.
A mortgage or a loan contingency, which is usually tied with an appraisal contingency, it relates to the buyer getting the financing that he wants.
The mortgage contingency says that if the buyer can't get a firm mortgage commitment at less than a specified rate by a certain date, then the contract is no good. Agreeing to the contingency poses some risks for the seller, but it protects both buyer and seller from a contract that can't work. One part of the mortgage contingency is the bank's appraisal of the property's actual worth. It can be a financial landmine for both buyers and sellers.
The appraisal contingency is simply, will the property appraise for at least the value of the purchase price? If the property doesn't appraise for the value of the purchase price, then the buyer can terminate the contract on that basis.
If the buyer discovers that the seller didn't disclose an important issue missed by the inspector, the buyer can terminate the contract up until the day of closing. In Los Angeles, this is Matt Mays reporting for the Lawyers.com channel.